All right, meanwhile, the U.S. Trade Representative Catherine Tai holding her first call with her Chinese counterpart this week, this coming days after the Treasury Department postponed a trading ban on companies with links to the Chinese military to early June. That ban, which was first put in place by the Trump administration, was supposed to go into effect this week. The Wall Street Journal is also reporting that Hikvision, the world's largest maker of surveillance equipment, has had long-term ties with the Chinese military. As we knew, it was on the trade blacklist from the Trump administration. Joining me right now on the phone is former Senior Director of International Economic Affairs at the Reagan National Security Council. Roger Robinson Jr. is here. Roger, it's great to have you this morning. Thanks so much for being here. First, I want to talk to you about what we're seeing out of the Biden administration, because just recently they removed one major technology company from the Trump blacklist, and that was Xiaomi. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly. They removed that company from the blacklist. China was pressuring the U.S. to take it off the blacklist. And then they moved this ban on trading Chinese stocks of companies that are tied to the military. I don't know if we will see that ban take effect ever. It's postponed until June. What are your thoughts on what you're seeing out of the Biden administration and its approach toward China and this subject of trading its companies in the U.S.?
Well, thanks, Maria. Ostensibly, the delay is supposed to be for the Biden administration to review the Trump policies and make some decisions about how they best want to proceed. But you're quite right that one of the fixes that could be implemented with respect to the Pentagon PLA list, as I affectionately call it, is that there's a new authority granted by the Congress. It's Section 1260H of the National Defense Authorization Act for 2021. What it does is it expands the mandate and the latitude of the Pentagon in terms of deciding who's a Chinese military company and who's not. And it makes it far more difficult for those companies to appeal legally to get themselves off the list. It lowers the bar to any Chinese company engaged in military-civilian fusion. Well, that's a broad swath that will permit the U.S. to win these lawsuits as opposed to losing them. And the postponement, yet again, of any adjustments to Executive Order 13959. As you say, they're supposed to be coming up next week, but that is a concern because, you don't have a more powerful and feared economic and financial tool in America's non-military arsenal than capital market sanctions. I mean, this is where our leverage is if we're serious about our national security, our fundamental values, and protecting American investors. So to try to kick the can down the road, narrow it, dilute it, or rescind it would be under an electron microscope of a lot of folks right away as having been a fundamental shift on China policy.
So, Roger, walk us through what's at stake here, because these are companies tied to the Chinese military. The Chinese military is the priority for the Chinese Communist Party. They want to overtake the United States as the #1 superpower. They're using these companies to do it. And we are allowing these companies to be able to raise billions of dollars. And in fact, we've got U.S. investors, in some cases, when you look at the Thrift Fund, military men and women and former military men and women investing and funding these companies' expansion. Tell us what's at stake, Roger.
Well, it's a scandalous situation, as you pointed out. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars flowing into the coffers of the Chinese Communist Party. And it's one thing to buy into the second largest economy in the world and having some investment exposure in China. That's one thing. But when you're dealing with U.S. sanctioned Chinese companies and other established national security and human rights bad actors, that's entirely another. And it simply can't be justified. You have all kinds of such anomalous situations going on now, Maria. For example, on the entity list, you have hundreds of Chinese companies that have been deemed to be national security human rights abusers. They can't access American equipment, technology, or components, and yet they still can raise funds like crazy on the U.S. cap markets. So how does that work? How can you be penalizing and rewarding Chinese offenders at the same time. So these things have to be corrected, and it's gone on for 20 years on an unregulated backdoor basis that's never really seen the light of day until March of 2019. So we've got to get our arms around this. It's one of the biggest issues we face today.
We're looking at pictures of the Uyghurs who are locked up, blindfolded in Xinjiang. I should point out that Hikvision is one of the companies that is used for surveillance of these people, where Anthony Blinken and Pompeo, Secretary Pompeo, called it genocide. Real quick, Roger, do you think corporate America is understanding this situation better, or are they just not getting the memo? Are they just looking to make money in China, not recognizing the implications that their kids and your kids and my kids and their kids are not going to have the same opportunities we had growing up if, of course, we're living in the Chinese empire, and that's what these companies are building to overtake the U.S., and we're funding it. Why isn't corporate America more involved in the solution here?
Well, I can speak to Wall Street a little better. I mean, they're praying that the measures that were implemented during the previous administration are narrowed and diluted, full stop, if not full out rescinded. I mean, they're hedging their bets. They've only had very, very limited divestments. They're holding their fire because they think that this thing can blow over. And I think that they're going to be wrong. I mean, neither Democrats or Republicans in this country want to be in the business of funding Chinese corporate enablers of genocide concentration camps or submarine-launched ballistic missiles targeting our families. I mean, you have well over 100 million unwitting American retail investors here helping fund these abuses with their money, not someone else's.
Yeah.
And I think that makes it personal and politically untenable to resist.
Well, you laid it out, Roger. Great to have you this morning. Thank you, sir. Roger Robertson, Jr. We'll be right back.